I was thinking about Jesus and Eastern philosophy, and it occurred to me that maybe there's not as much of a difference between Eastern philosophies like Buddhism or Taoism or Stoicism. Actually, Stoicism is not really an Eastern philosophy, it's more of something conceived in Greek philosophy, but it is very similar. We talk about the teachings of Jesus and we think about them in the context of Christian theology, but the truth is, Jesus had a way of speaking in parables and teaching the importance of letting go of material things and the idea of forgiveness, and a lot of those things, those Christian principles, they were quite different from the principles of Judaism, which were mainstream at the time in Israel. So Jesus would say things like, it was said of you to live by an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth, but I say to do good to those who despitefully use and abuse you, and forgive your enemies, things like that. Well, think about it. Then Christianity went wild and went on crusades and holy wars and all sorts of other things. And it's really hard to say that Christianity as a whole really lived up to the sort of things that you would read in the New Testament as being the words of Jesus. And yet, if we just take it at face value, the words of Jesus seem to be very much aligned with the sort of teachings and realizations that you would get from a book on Taoism or Stoicism. The idea of being at peace with all things, of being at peace with others and at peace with God, of doing no harm to others, of forgiving, of being kind, of being temperate and moderate in your behaviors, all of those things. And it's interesting because hypothetically, I was reading about this, at the time of Jesus, Eastern philosophy would have already been established, and it would have probably been prevalent in Judea because that was a pretty cosmopolitan place for the time. It was a hub of trade around the world. So it's very possible when we look at Christianity from a secular perspective, it's very possible that Jesus actually was aware of Eastern philosophy. He was aware of the sorts of things that maybe for the time would have been looked at as a sort of a liberalism. And those are the things that he was teaching. And that's why he was ultimately crucified, because the things he was teaching were not in line with the religious teachings of the day. In the times that have followed, we've seen religion standardized by the Roman Catholic Church. We saw religion used as a way to advance and progress empires. We've seen all of that, but maybe that doesn't have a whole lot of bearing on the teachings of Jesus. And so why does this matter? Well, maybe it matters because when you say, well, I'm a Christian, what if that doesn't mean that you have to adhere to all of the teachings of the church? What if you can be a student of Eastern philosophy? You can be a student of Stoicism and Taoism and all of those things. And you can also be a follower of Jesus because they all had the same message at the heart of what they were trying to tell us, which is to live our lives in harmony with ourselves and with each other, and to find peace in the storm through forgiveness, reconciliation, and understanding. And I know a lot of people who are of a religious persuasion will say that this is some sort of heresy and I have no idea what I'm talking about, things like that. But for my purposes, I think it rings poetic to a certain degree, because there's that urge to say, well, if I don't believe in something completely, then I guess I can't believe in it at all. But that is a really crude way to look at the world. We can't describe God exactly because we don't have the words to do it. Someone said that the infinite cannot be described with any words. And if words can describe it, then it is not the infinite. The minute you think that you know who or what God is, you have made him smaller than such a God could possibly be. The minute you reduce deity to some sort of understanding that we have, then it ceases to be divine. So maybe all of the religions and faiths and philosophies of the world are all ways for us to use the existing building blocks of language and understanding we do have to describe something which we really don't have the resources or ability to fully understand and describe. And if that's true, then it doesn't matter what words we use, what symbols we use to illustrate those points. They all, if they convey the spirit of truth, contain a reflection of divinity. And I think that that's important because it helps us to understand that we can truly gain a sense of spiritual enlightenment from things that we don't necessarily believe in fully. You don't have to believe 100% in order to get value out of something. And the fact that you don't believe 100% of everything the church teaches, or you don't subscribe to a specific religion, doesn't mean that you can't get spiritual meaning out of those things. I don't identify as a Christian, and yet I still have no qualms against spending time reading the Bible, for example. When we close doors on things, we say, oh, well, I moved past being religious, so I don't subscribe to any of that anymore. Well, you can, but if you get rid of all of the things that teach us using symbols, and you have no symbols left, then what can you use as a placeholder for the things that have no words to describe them? I was thinking about how it might be tempting to say, I didn't have all the answers. For my whole life, I didn't have all the answers. And then I reached a point where I found the ultimate answer to everything. And now I know it all. But that would be folly, because it would be impossible. You couldn't possibly not have all the answers to life and then just reach some epiphany midway through your life and get to a point where you can say you know it all now. That would be ridiculous. That's not even the goal. We're not going to be able to know everything. So then how do we get to a place where we can perhaps be wise? Well, it comes down to understanding we don't know everything. We can't know everything. It's not our goal to know everything or have all the answers. It's the courage of saying, I don't know. I don't know the meaning of everything. And I don't need to. Because I can understand the meta without understanding the mechanics. I can believe that life has meaning without understanding everything about what makes life work. I can have peace with my life without understanding the true nature of our existence. We truly don't know if we're living inside a simulation on the desk of someone who's, master game programmer. We don't know if we're created by some larger than life entity like God who exists outside the known existence that we live in, or if time is all just a relative construct and in a way none of it really exists, and everything which ever has existed or will exist just sort of is in a unmoving singularity that's beyond our scope to comprehend. We don't know any of that stuff. But we can have a sense of peace in our life by looking at a reflection of the face of God and all of the many works of art and creation which exist around us. We can not have all the answers and still have peace in our hearts. We can not know how it's all supposed to end up, and we can still forgive and understand and be kind to others and have a pact to do no harm and to leave things better than we found them. And all of that comes down to the same basic universal principles. That is a really fascinating thing if you think about it, whether you're looking at the Wiccan Rede, or you're looking at the teachings of Jesus in the New Testament, or you're looking at the teachings of Eastern philosophy. The message is usually pretty much the same everywhere you go. Do whatever you will in this life, but do no harm to anyone. And you don't really need a religion to subscribe to that notion, because whether you look at life through the lens of science or faith, philosophy, or just rational self-interest, all of those paths of thought seem to lead to the same conclusion, that we're all in this together, and so we should strive to treat ourselves and others well, and to make peace with our place in the world. As always, good luck on your adventure. Till next time, thanks so much for watching.